Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user numberfantastic4992. Am I the a-hole for not believing my wife was not intentionally cheating on me? First of all, I want to say I am not normally the person to post my business on the internet, but for reasons you will shortly see, I need a sanity check on this one, but there is absolutely no way I can share this dilemma with anyone who knows me. It's too effed up and I'm honestly reeling here. So to try to make a long story short, my wife, 32 female, and I, 32 male, have been married for 5 years. No kids. But lately, things haven't been so great. The main issue, frankly, is that there hasn't been sex, and I keep talking to her about this, but she honestly seems completely indifferent. It's like she doesn't even care that I have needs. I ask her if she wants sex anymore, and she just shrugs. At the same time, she has been going to the gym more, highlighting her hair, wearing more makeup, sexier clothes, etc., which to me seems like signs of cheating when combined with not having sex with me at all. So frankly, I started to get fed up with the lack of respect and interest and consideration, and above all, the lack of communication, like she just won't talk to me about this. So while I'm not proud, I did check her phone and discover very clear evidence she is cheating on me with a male co-worker of hers. And not only that, but in a total BDSM way where she is calling him master and stuff like that. Totally not my thing. And honestly, really upset me way more than just cheating that she would be calling another man master. So obviously for me, this was the final straw, and I knew there was no coming back from this. I just wanted a divorce, and I wanted it right away. No kids, might as well start over while we're still young. So I just confronted her the next day after a night of stewing and sweating on the couch, and here's where the really effed up part starts. As soon as I brought up her coworker, my wife starts sobbing and says she's not cheating on me on purpose, but is under mind control by this man and that he hypnotized her to do these things. She said he literally put her under hypnotic control so that whenever he says certain trigger words, she goes into a trance and gives her suggestions that she will carry out even when they're not together. And she in no way wants to be involved in this, but she has no choice because her mind is controlled. So obviously, like, what the F? Because that crap doesn't exist, right? She's telling me this so confidently, as if everyone just knows you can go around mind controlling your coworkers and it's a thing that happens, but it's not, right? So I have absolutely no idea what to say to this, but I asked her if this is true, why did she never tell me before? And she said his control stopped her. So why can't she tell me now? She says she doesn't know because she doesn't remember all of his instructions. But he may have let her tell me if I specifically asked. Or it may be that the control was broken because it was too emotionally intense. I just honestly did not believe this at all, and I don't even know what to do with this excuse. Like, I've never heard any crap like this in my life, but my wife could tell I didn't believe her, and she started crying and saying I didn't trust her, and she wants to get out of the control. If I can help save her from him, then she'll leave him and never do anything like that again. But I need to believe it's not her fault because she would never do that to me. So basically, at this point, I just left and went to my brother's house and told her I need to get away from this right now. But she's been texting me since, begging me to believe her, and I just told my bro I found out she was cheating and he said I can stay as long as I want, but there's no way I can tell him all this crazy crap. So my question is, what the F? First of all, am I the a-hole for not believing my wife? Is this something that really can happen? I know hypnosis is used by psychologists and magicians, but don't you have to consent to be hypnotized? I can just imagine if we called the cops about this, they would laugh in our face. I feel sick thinking about this either way, but even if it's not true, does my wife honestly believe this? And if she honestly believes she is under control, should I forgive her even if it's not true? OP, no, you're not the a-hole. You just discovered your wife is cheating and then got hit with the wildest, most manipulative, ridiculous excuse imaginable. Let's be clear about one thing. You're not underreacting. She is not under mind control. Hypnosis in clinical settings requires consent, like you said. It can't override will, ethics, morals, or memory like some sci-fi movie. What she's describing is just fantasy, not reality. She's banking on your love and confusion to avoid accountability. And just like every other cheater, she didn't own what she did. No apology, just victimizing herself. A weird narrative, to be honest, and a plea for you to rescue her from a situation that she chose. There's no remorse here, only manipulation. You don't need to call the cops, but you do need to protect your peace, your sanity, and your future. You're not crazy, you're just seeing how far people go to dodge the truth. Definitely divorce. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments. Trey Warp says, she's the a-hole, she got caught and is very obviously grasping at straws to get you to stay. Divorce and move on. And OP responds, what's stopping me is this seems like such a crazy effed up lie, and honestly it just seems beyond my wife to come up with something so outlandish. Like, with all respect, she is kind of a basic or normie person who I would never expect to think of something like this. I expected she was gonna say it was my fault for certain things or that it didn't mean anything, but not something like this. I'm questioning if she's had some kind of mental disorder or something. If I were in your shoes says, not the a-hole. Tell her to do this if you are to believe her. I still would not believe her. Tell her tomorrow you are both going to her work and she is going to HR and you are there to help her. Let them know about his hypnosis on her and explain the situation, as this is coercion and sexual harassment and sexual abuse. Then after that, to the police to file a report. Her response will be telling, because now she is cornered and has to either do this and he will be looked at in a very negative light, or she will have to fess up and be honest. Then if she is honest, say the only chance you have at us, if that's what you truly want, you will need to post a confession on all your socials in a public post that you cheated on me, tagging him, what you called each other, what you did, and not blaming me for your cheating. I will verify this through a third party. Until this is done, we are getting a divorce. If she does it, take a screenshot and use it as evidence to file under adultery and get out quicker. That by 110 says, not the a-hole, but seriously dude, the mind control thing is part of her kink, part of her BDSM fantasy. She is using it as an excuse for you, but also for any guilt she might feel. The entire story is BS. In fact, it is so BS that it makes me doubt the entire thing. That is how bad it is. It is insulting that she thinks this would work on you. You should be super pissed. Leave her, expose her after the divorce is finalized. Make sure everyone at work knows about the boss. Get them both fired. Look, I have zero empathy for these situations and I am all about petty revenge. Wreck them. Collect all evidence of the affair. Whatever you have to do, contact a lawyer. And Dopey responds, when I sit here alone, I completely agree it's BS. When I was standing there in front of her with her face sobbing, it was hard not to have some doubt and pity. But you're right. In my rational mind, I know this is nonsense. I just wonder if she believes it or not on some level. Both because I know she can be gullible, but also it's so hard and sickening to think she would make up something like this. But ultimately, whether or not she believes it, you're right. I just have to divorce her. This is too much to handle, and if she would sincerely believe this, then there's something not right in her head and I couldn't trust her. But just to correct one thing, it's not her boss, just a coworker. Well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole and that he needs to get divorced as soon as possible. So, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. So, a couple of people asked for updates and I was initially reticent, but after everything that happened, I wanted to share what I learned. I appreciate people's input, especially on the hypnosis part and how that works. But to be honest, I think most of y'all were a little harsh on me and it was kind of a dumb move on my part to post this situation online when nobody replying knows me or my wife at all. So I wanted to update to shed some light on that. So to get the obvious out of the way, we are getting divorced. So I spent a few days at my bro's house, and while originally I said there was no way I would ever tell him, finally we got pretty drunk and I spilled everything and showed him the texts from my wife too, where she was insisting she was under control and would never choose to do this to me. To his credit, he didn't mock or make fun of me at all, and since, unlike Reddit, he actually knows my wife, his perspective was honestly helpful and gave me some things to think about that I hadn't considered. And now I kinda wish I had just talked to him in the first place, but I was so humiliated I could only talk about it anonymously. But here's what he said. He agreed my wife is a very weak and gullible person, someone who can be easily manipulated, and maybe she believed she was being mind controlled. But he said that doesn't make her innocent in this, and he made a comparison to people who join cults or spend thousands of dollars in online romance scams. The latter hit home because we have a relative who was involved in this. Their families and loved ones try to get them out and show them the facts, but they continue rationalizing and believing what they want to believe for the sake of the fantasy of the romance or religion. They may be a victim, but they're not innocent. And I get it. I can absolutely see that kind of behavior in my wife, where she is willing to excuse and stick up for people who treat her like dirt, but not to stick up for herself or the people who are important to her, to where she is willing to stay under the thumb of anyone who will think for her and make decisions for her. The way we got together is I kind of saved her from a bad relationship she was in, and I think she's kind of addicted to that dynamic, to be honest. Letting someone control her and being saved. So I realized after talking to my brother, even if my wife believes she is being mind controlled, can I really go on with my life with someone who would let herself be this deluded to maybe risk our finances or future children's safety, etc.? Obviously not. I don't think I ever would have stayed with her after this, obviously. My brother's advice really made things clear to me in a way I hadn't thought of it before. So now, what happened with my wife? I did have to go back to our place to get some of my stuff, and honestly, I did want to talk to her, I guess to try to get closure and make her hear my perspective, and maybe try to shake sense into her one last time. Like, I do still care about her, and I want her to try to figure her crap out and never do something like this again. So we talked, and the first thing I told her was that we are getting divorced, and she could not change my mind. There was a lot of crying after that. Next, I asked her if this was all a lie or does she really believe she was hypnotized? Because I very bluntly told her mind control is not real and hypnosis doesn't work unless you consent to it. And she told me she consented to the initial hypnosis, which was all non-sexual, but he eventually started putting in sexual suggestions, and by then she couldn't resist. And I said, okay, so why didn't you tell someone or get help? And she said his control prevented her. So I told her if she really believed this is true, she needed to contact her HR department and the police. But I think she just needs mental help, and she was willing to sacrifice our marriage for her sexual fantasy. And I hope one day she can admit it was her fantasy. She didn't argue too much with that, but she didn't admit it either. Then she showed me her text to the guy where she told him his control was broken and it was over. He said, and I quote, "That's fine, I already got everything I wanted from you anyway." So she ruined our happiness for someone like that. A hard pill to swallow for me and for her. So I told her I had to go, and she asked if we could stay in or be friends, and I said no. I will talk through lawyers from now on. Not to be harsh, but I don't want to feed her fantasy that I will still save her somehow. But I encouraged her to get help. As for me, I'm gonna stay single for a while, and to be honest, I should probably rethink what kind of woman I want too, and try to find a gal who is more independent and doesn't need to be saved per se. In the meantime, I always wanted a dog, and my soon-to-be ex-wife is allergic, so I think I'm gonna start there. Well, Opie, at this point, she can continue to believe whatever she wants, but the hard truth is that divorce is coming. So here's wishing you all the best. Hopefully you pick a good doggo. Take care, Opie, and thanks for sharing. And now, let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user UnhappyPromise7630. Am I the a-hole for refusing to allow my sister to wear our late mother's jewelry? I, 23 female, and my sister Abby, 20 female, have always had a bumpy relationship throughout our childhood. After our mother's death 2 years ago, we have grown a bit closer. She didn't leave a will, but our dad gave me her jewelry because I wear jewelry every day and have always loved jewelry, especially our mother's jewelry. My sister never wears jewelry because she doesn't find it comfortable, so she always takes it off within an hour. She is also prone to losing things because she sets them down and forgets where she put them. We would have to wait for her before we could leave the house because she would constantly forget where she had placed things. I would carry her phone and wallet in my purse because she doesn't carry one. Now, next week, she's going to a destination wedding and she is asking for some of our mother's jewelry to take on the trip. I said no and explained why. She took offense and told me, "She's my mother too, you can't gatekeep her jewelry." I told her that I'm not gatekeeping and that I don't want to lose her jewelry. I also told her I don't even wear the jewelry a lot because I don't want to lose it. Our dad thinks I should just give it to her to keep the peace. Some friend of ours think that I am not an a-hole because she does, in fact, lose the smallest of things. So, am I the a-hole? B, you're not the a-hole for saying no to the trip. Your concern is valid, but your sister is right too. It's her mother's jewelry as well. This isn't about gatekeeping. It's about trust, timing, and honoring something that belongs to both of you. Short-term protection doesn't mean long-term possession. Set boundaries now, but start a real conversation about how to share the jewelry meaningfully without risking what neither of you can replace. I think the core here is that you can honor someone's grief without handing them something they're not ready to care for. I don't think you're being selfish, OP. I think you're trying to be responsible. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's check out the community comments. Who Fears Death says, I think your dad is the a-hole here. He should have never given it all to you and exclude her from it. The right thing to do here is redistribute and split at least some of it with her, but with the understanding that if she loses it, that was her responsibility and she isn't going to be able to borrow your pieces. I'm going to say no a-holes here because you and your sister aren't a-holes, but your dad is. Fit Engineering 2789 says, it doesn't matter if she doesn't wear jewelry regularly or not, she should be able to have some of your mother's jewelry for sentimental reasons at the very least. It doesn't matter if you think she should have it or not, your dad should have split it between the two of you in the first place. It's really not fair that you get all of it and don't want to share. How would you feel if your dad gave all the jewelry to her and she made up reasons why you shouldn't get to have any? You would likely think differently about it if you were in her shoes. She should get to have some of her own from your mother's collection. And Stuffin' Things 100 says, so you get the jewelry because you wear jewelry and she doesn't, but now you said that you barely wear the jewelry? You're the a-hole. It should have been split between the both of you. Well, the majority of the community says no a-holes here, but there's a lot of people also saying you're the a-hole because the jewelry should have been split. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. First of all, I would like to clarify some things said. My sister does not like jewelry. She does not wear it. She refuses to wear it. She only asked for them for a destination wedding for pictures. She picked out the clothes. I picked out the jewelry. She has no problem with me having the jewelry. She'd rather me have the jewelry because she doesn't want to keep them. She wanted to borrow them for the wedding, but I said no because I was afraid of her losing them. With that said, I love my sister. My dad loves my sister. That's why she got the clothes, because she takes care of the things she likes, like clothing. I talked to my sister, since there is a decent amount of jewelry. Some she rarely wore and some she wore all the time, like a wedding or an engagement ring, along with 2 cross necklaces. I talked to my sister. I apologized for reacting the way I did. She accepted my apology and laughed it off because she, in her words, has the mind of a fish, so I understand why you reacted the way you did. She then explained she was thinking of only wearing them for the ceremony and pictures. so she would most likely take them off for the rest of the day. So I agreed to give her a little jewelry bag she can put the jewelry in, and put the bag in her purse so she won't lose it. I gave her some pieces for the wedding. We went through them and picked out the jewelry that goes with the bridesmaid's dress. It was a good bonding time as we drank some coffee and went back on some memories of our childhood and our mother. I gave her an old jewelry box of mine, and she said she was thinking of only wearing them for the ceremony and pictures, so she will carry the box in her car and put them in the box after the ceremony and pictures. I also gave her one of the cross necklaces. She said she'll put it in her car since she won't wear it. She said she will hang it on her rearview mirror so she can look at it and think of her while driving. We both said it would be like a sister's necklace to remember her by. Well, Opi, I think this was a good update. You had a conversation with your sister, you guys cleared everything up, she's gonna take some jewelry, and she promised to take care of it. And you had a good bonding experience with her talking about your memories. So here's wishing you the best, Opi. Take care and thanks for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.